probably know this to tell the speakers. So they just hit it. This button. Okay, so forward, back, just these buttons right here. Okay. Thank you. That's it. Yep. So I just have that one and that one. That's it. So I'll just talk from the table. It'd be easier than me getting up. I thought could I just talk from there? And then I won't have to get up.
まもなくセッション3、認知症の人
We will be resuming the session 3, so please come back to the seat and wait.
These crazy Americans, right? We're aggressive.
No way. Does this help? Okay.
ただいまより
We'd like to begin session 3, and that is Living Well with Dementia in the Community. The chairperson is Kyorin University Professor Koichi Kozaki, and Alzheimer's Association USA Ms. Beth Kohlmeyer. This will be in 2-hour duration until 5:30. Please cooperate with us in time management. Now we'd like to give the microphone to the chairpersons.
And I was introduced as Beth Kohlmeyer, and I'll have to say I'm not Beth. I'm sorry she can't be here today, and she did say I could share why she's not here. Her mother had a heart condition that she had to go into the hospital, and her father has mid-stage Alzheimer's. So she is the caregiver of the family that had to leave and go be with her family. So on last Thursday, I was asked to chair, and I'm very honored to do so. So my name is Cindy Cordell. I'm with the Alzheimer's Association in the United States, and I am very appreciative to be here today.
Yeah. My name is Koichi Kozaki. I will also chair this session.
Thank you. And just to start us off, in the United States, we have a federal national plan, but we also have state plans. And I thought to start off today, this is just the projection of the different increases in prevalence rates of AD across the nation. And as you can see, it's very different. And that's why the state plans that are being implemented across the nation are different because of their different needs. And I just took we have a report where we took all the state plans and actually looked at the different activities that they're doing. And it's over 100 pages, but I just think today we're going to hear about specific activities. And here's just what happens in the state plans, where there's so many activities to become a dementia-friendly community for people with dementia. And you can just see all the different topic areas that the states have looked at. And we're going to hear about a lot of these activities today. So with that, we welcome everybody, and I'll welcome our first speaker today, who is Jean Georges, he's the Executive Director of Alzheimer's Europe.
Well, normally I would say in Luxembourg I would be at this time be getting up and starting to go to work. But despite that, I would really like to thank the organizers for the invitation and for the possibility of being here today. What I would really like to do is to give you some ideas about some of the very interesting, in my opinion at least, European initiatives on dementia-friendly communities. I'd also like to give you some overview of some other WHO or European Union initiatives more in the field of age-friendly communities or environments. And I then want to make some very modest proposals on what I think might be the way forward of how best to link up both the age and dementia-friendly objectives. So what are normally the objectives of a dementia-friendly environment? And this is a long list which I will let you read for yourself to some extent, but I want to draw your attention in particular to the last bullet point because it's really the essence of what we are going to discuss here today, which is that dementia-friendly environments should work together in the community to make sure that people with dementia and their carers can remain engaged in their chosen activities of life for as long as they wish to. So it's really to the core of the discussions that we're going to have here today. Of course, dementia-friendly communities and environments would also like to challenge the stigma, the myth and misconceptions around dementia. They all have to engage with the key stakeholders in the community to make sure that the knowledge and understanding of dementia becomes part of the local agenda and identify, of course, who the key partners are to develop a kind of local map for people with dementia to make sure that the environments become as dementia-friendly as possible. I mentioned the stakeholders, so of course, two of the key stakeholders in the development of dementia-friendly communities are people with dementia themselves. They absolutely need to be at the core of any kind of aim of developing such dementia-friendly communities. Also, you will see that I used this slide from a slide presented by the Alzheimer's Society of Ireland. So the national or local Alzheimer's Association is another absolute key stakeholder in the development of dementia-friendly communities. But also, it goes beyond people with dementia and carers. We want to involve neighbors, friends, supporters, and families. It should also be open to local businesses, local statutory service providers. So, for example, people or organizations that we don't normally think of when we're talking about dementia. So, emergency services, the police, local authorities, councillors, town planners, all of these have to be involved in making our communities more dementia-friendly. Also, the kind of local mainstream community services. So a lot of these kind of services that we haven't discussed yet because the discussion we've had this morning was much more around the health and social services that are necessary to support people with dementia. So this is a much broader approach to make sure that our communities become more dementia-friendly. I said that I used Ireland as an example, and I deliberately wasn't going to comment on fantastic initiatives that are currently taking place in either the United Kingdom or in Germany, because I know that some of the speakers after me will be able to talk about those. But in Ireland, for example, you can see that a number of areas or regions, for example, Galway, Kilkenny, Wicklow or Donegal, have declared themselves to be dementia-friendly towns. And this is really kind of a campaign that is gathering pace in Ireland. In Spain, something similar is happening where they call themselves Ayuntamiento Solidario con el Alzheimer, or a town hall or municipality which is in solidarity with Alzheimer's disease. This is the map of all the different initiatives or all the different town halls that have already declared themselves open or in solidarity with Alzheimer's disease, and you can see that it's quite an impressive coverage of the whole of Spain. In parallel to the dementia-friendly environments that I was talking about, the WHO has really also pushed another campaign for the development of age-friendly cities. They define an age-friendly city as an inclusive and accessible urban environment that promotes active aging and they've set up a WHO global network of age-friendly cities, which is really open to any city or municipality that would be interested in promoting that concept. The WHO has identified a number of areas where they believe that these are sectors that also influence health and quality of life of older people. So, for example, outdoor spaces and buildings, transportation, housing, the importance of social participation, respect and social inclusion, civil participation and employment, communication and information, and last but not least, community support and health services. You can see that a lot of these areas are also areas that we as dementia associations would be particularly interested in improving. In Europe, Jürgen Schäfflein this morning from the European Commission already mentioned the European Innovation Partnership on Active and Healthy Aging. They have a specific action on innovation for age-friendly buildings, cities and environments. And the aim of the European Innovation Partnership was not just to improve the health status and quality of life of older people, but the European Union also believed that there was a real economic argument to improve and to develop such age-friendly environments. They believe that by doing that, it can improve the efficiency and the sustainability of health systems, so really goes to the core of the discussions we had in just the previous session. But also for Europe, it was, of course, to foster the competitiveness of the European Union on a kind of global field when it comes to the whole industry that's working in innovative age and health-related products and services. At the moment, there's over 800 partners that are involved in activities of this European Innovation Partnership on Active and Healthy Aging, 27 member states, 30 European cities, and 360 regions and municipalities that are involved in some degree or other in this whole movement towards age-friendly environments. I mentioned the specific action group on age-friendly environments, cities, on age-friendly buildings, cities, and environments, and they have an action plan from 2012 till next year. And the aims that they have given themselves is to adapt environments to the challenges of an aging population, to understand how information, communication technology, and service innovations can help to shape supportive environments, to run pilots to analyze integrated approaches to urban design, to housing, health and social services, age-friendly workplaces, information and communication technology, and also smart environments. And they want to set up mechanisms to ensure that the older person is involved in that kind of process and can participate as active members in society. And again, last but not least, they want to explore new ways to promote active and healthy aging with age-friendly environments. Again, if you replace the word age-friendly with dementia-friendly, I think that a lot of that would really make sense for not just an age movement, but also for the dementia movement. What the European Commission has also tried to do was to identify a number of good practices in the field of age-friendly environments. So they were already able to identify some 62 good practices from 32 regions and from 12 member states. As also in Europe, we've really been pushing that the Commission doesn't just look at age-friendly communities, but also looks into dementia-supportive environments, as they call it, and the Commission also identified 5 good practices with regard to community support and solutions in the field of dementia. A project that the Commission has launched, a very recent project, is the AFE InnovNet project. The aims of that is to support the European Innovation Partnership on Active and Healthy Aging, and really to set up a kind of EU-wide community of local and regional authorities which are interested in developing this age-friendly environment. Here are the list of stakeholders that are involved in this AFE InnovNet network. You can see that 16 out of 28 member states are involved, 13 cities in different countries, 6 regions are involved, but also European networks. So this is a network that's coordinated by Age Platform Europe, the representative organization of elderly people, the equivalent of AARP on a European level. But again, Alzheimer Europe has tried to become involved in this because we really see an opportunity in the development of age-friendly communities to make sure that the dementia-friendly aspects are also taken into account. You can see the last phrase on this slide says that it's open to additional partners. So if you're interested, you can find out more information on efeinnovnet.eu, and they're really looking for additional stakeholders to be involved in this kind of process. So I said that I was going to present some very modest kind of recommendations for the way forward. My idea would be that dementia-friendly communities should really be organized in collaboration with this growing movement of age-friendly environments rather than in isolation, especially for those countries where they haven't yet developed a dementia-friendly environment to really take advantage of this existing movement that already exists. To also make sure that on the other hand, that every time there are age-friendly initiatives that are being developed, that these should pay specific attention to the needs of and involve people with dementia in their work. What would be particularly interesting would be that we either develop repositories or databases to allow exchanges of good and best practices in this field, but some already exist, so it's a question of maybe linking them up in a better way. And then also we talked about evidence-based, maybe start developing some evidence-based toolkits for the creation and implementation of age or dementia-friendly communities. So my thanks go to some of the people that actually provided me with some of my slides, because I'm very thankful to Evelyn Manning from the European Commission, to Julia Valdoux and Ophélie Durand from HFAT from Europe, who gave me some of the work that they had done on an age-friendly level so that I could present it here today. Here you also have some 3 websites that might be of interest. The website of my organization, which is Alzheimer Europe, the efeinnovnet one, and this is a rather long one, but the European Commission website on the whole European Innovation Partnership on Active and Healthy Aging. And that would be it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there just a single question for any clarification? We do have a Q&A at the end of the session. George Vangerberg, please.
What is the initial evidence of the impact of any of these, and how impact is going to be measured in terms of some sort of goals and metrics?
I think the aim of programs such as efeinnovnet and the whole European Innovation Partnership for Active and Healthy Aging is really not just to start a number of these initiatives, but also to develop the evidence base for the effectiveness and usefulness of some of these initiatives. You're right that maybe that doesn't exist on a comparative level, but really the Horizon 2020, which is the European research program, really looks into promoting projects or pilot projects where the effectiveness of such models can be measured. So watch this space for more information later.
Thank you. Okay, now I'd like to introduce Mr. Iwata. He is the team leader, the research team for promoting independence of the elderly at the Tokyo Metropolitan Institute of Gerontology here in Japan.
Professor Kozaki. Because I have to speak accurately within 5 minutes, I will speak in Japanese and depend on excellent translators. So, 今日のタイトルは
So the title of my presentation today is to create a society where we can live well with dementia, with hope and dignity. So how can we create that kind of society? What you're seeing is the data from 1980 to 2060. This shows the development of elderly persons proportion in each country in the first portion of the 21st century, exceeding Italy and Germany. Japan became #1 in terms of the aging or aged society. And in the remaining of the first half of the 21st century, this ratio is going to continue to rise in Japan, and we will be staying #1 up until 2060 or so. And Dr. Kim is going to present after me from South Korea. But the aging ratio in South Korea is very much rapid. Therefore, South Korea is going to take over Japan. So since 1980s, Japanese government has introduced a variety of dementia-related policies. For instance, the one introduced back in 2000, which is the system for long-term care insurance. And in 2004, the term of Ninchisho in Japanese changed. And in 2005, a training program for dementia support doctors was established, and in the same year, nationwide program to train 1 million dementia supporters was initiated. 5.7 million people are participating in this nationwide program as of now. And in 2006, the government started the training program for primary care doctors to upskill dementia practice. In the same year, Community General Support Center was established. Mr. Mizutani from the Ministry of Health said community-based integrated support center. Probably that term is a more accurate reflection of the Japanese term in English. So Community General Support Center was established to make coordination for dementia support and care. And there are about 5,000 such centers across Japan. And in 2008, Medical Center for Dementia was established, which is to provide early diagnosis and comprehensive care for dementia. And in 2012, a 5-year plan for promotion of dementia measures was developed, and this is nicknamed as Orange Plan. Orange Plan covers the phase after dementia diagnosis in the community where people are familiar to live, to be able to live with dignity. That is the major objective of this plan. So to realize a society where one's will shall be respected and one can live in pleasant and familiar surroundings as long as possible and practicable, even after they suffer dementia. And there are 7 fundamental policy directions with a numerical target for each one of them. And as I said, there are currently 278 medical centers for dementia, but by 2017, the target by the government is to increase this number to 500. Japan is not such a large country. However, we still have regional differences in terms of the population, in terms of the ratio of elderly population, and also the medical zone coverage, as well as the social resources available. Therefore, on the one hand, we need to have this kind of government-led initiative, but on the other hand, we need to have community-based regional approaches to dementia support. This red portion is Tokyo, and 12 million people live in this very small area. So there is regional variety in this country. In 2011, as you know, the Great East Japan earthquake hit this area. This area of Tohoku did not have much social support, and the elderly persons ratio is very high. And this is an example of one island in this area. Dementia support was non-existent in the past, but then in an abolished elementary school building, doctors and nurses and healthcare workers got together to have a regular meeting to talk about how to support people with dementia. That government-led intensive support team was initiated. In Tokyo, under Community General Support Center, there is dementia coordinator, and under Medical Center for Dementia Outreach Team was established, and this is to provide early diagnosis and support for people with dementia. In Tokyo, there are a lot of elderly people who are living in solitude and who are having some economic difficulties without any family members to support them. Therefore, NPO took an initiative to rent up some abandoned houses and reform those houses to invite people with dementia to live in those places comfortably. And then this NPO also established a cafe so that community people can get together and raise awareness through this cafe to provide better support for the people with dementia. This is my last slide. Very recently, back in October, the Japan Dementia Working Group, which is a group of people with dementia, they themselves established this group. And their objective is to create a society where we can live well with dementia, with hope and dignity. So this is the objective of the group. And with this objective, they have taken on some activities and initiatives. And they just recently had a meeting with the Minister of Health in Japan. So this is my final slide. What's important to create a dementia-friendly city is to respect hope of the person with dementia, and we need to take on community initiatives and combine them with government-led initiatives. Harmonization between the two is very important. With this, I'd like to finish my presentation. Thank you very much for your very kind attention.
Clarification of his presentation?
粟田先生、
Dr. Awata,
よろしければ地域
could you please talk about Community General Support Center? Could you elaborate on that? What is the basic concept of this Community General Support Center? How did it get initiated? This Community General Care System or Support Center, I think this was introduced in Europe before Japan. This is a system to provide services. So this is called Community Integrated or Community-Based Integrated Care System. And one keyword is community-based, meaning that in each community, respecting characteristics of that particular community and involving people living in this community to establish this system. That is important. Another keyword here is integrated care. That means that the field of medicine needs to be combined with the support, economic support, social security to support those people who are living in solitude, and also long-term care. All these supports and services need to be integrated, community-based and integrated. These need to be harmonized so that each municipality can provide best care for people living with dementia. That is what we call Community General Support Center. So the community takes on the initiative, right? That is an important point. Yes, I think that is so. So it's not like government-led or enforced by the government. Yeah, harmony between the two is important. Thank you very much.
Okay, I would like to introduce Annette Polly. She is the deputy head of the unit at the Federal Ministry for Family Affairs, Senior Citizens, Women and Youth from Germany. Thank you.
So thank you, Madam Chair. I really feel very honored to be able to speak to you today. Thank you for inviting me, and I really appreciate the chance to introduce to you the current program, my ministry, the Federal Ministry for Family Affairs, Senior Citizens, Women and Youth funds at the moment. I'm going to talk to you about the local alliances for persons with dementia in Germany. To begin with, I'd like to put the local alliances into line with what you heard before, maybe in the morning from my colleague from the Ministry of Health of Germany. So I would point out the background. Just to be very brief, we have 1.5 million people suffering from dementia in Germany. So it's obvious that the German government wants to take action on this, and there will be a doubling of these figures till 2050. So we established, you heard from my colleague, the National Alliance for People with Dementia, on national level as part of the demographic strategy in Germany. The program, I already told you, is called Local Alliances for Persons with Dementia. So now I'm going to talk about the conceptual approach the German government took, and I would like to invite you to step into the shoes of the German government, what we can do on federal level. I would just like to come back to what the colleague in the session before said. It's all about labels and legacy. Perhaps my presentation is about levels and legacy. So we started out with a contest for pilot projects in multi-generational centers in Germany. You might have heard about these organizations. We put into place 450 multi-generational centers with very different occupations all over Germany. Then it started out, we had evidence that it would be effective, and so we called for proposals to a very wide range of organizations. And since I'm from the government, I speak for the German government, I'll talk about money to you too today. That's, some of you would like to hear this, some of you won't probably. The sum of funding would be 10,000 euro over a period of 2 years for every organization who can apply for the program, to participate in the program. The next point I'd like to make is that we have been selecting participants. So far we had 3 rounds of selecting participants in close cooperation with the federal lender. You might know that Germany has 3 levels, so now I come to the levels, 3 levels of states. It's the national states, it's the federal states, we call them the Länder, and the municipalities. And there is always a thing to achieve good cooperation. So that's why I'm stressing the thing with the level. So far we have achieved 292 alliances, and the aim is to have 500 alliances all over Germany by 2016. And we also provide for an associated scientific evaluation, because it's been said very often by the previous speakers, they always have to have evidence to prove you're efficient. So, what are our objectives in general? I'd like to be very brief on these because we all heard of them. You all mentioned them in one or another way, so I won't really dwell on these things. Just let me stress one very important point. Since I come from a ministry who's responsible for social policy, it would be making society and individuals more aware of the needs of persons with dementia, and of course, we already heard that, furnishing support for the affected persons and also their families. Last but not least, it's only brief, we're on our way to an inclusive society, and we want to contribute also with this program. Now I come to the objectives, to the specific objectives. They've all been mentioned by my previous speakers, so I won't go into detail with these. But let me stress also the last one I put down here on the slide, getting society to better appreciate the value of caregiving relatives. That would be one of the most important objectives for the federal ministry. What are our experiences so far? Well, we had a very, very strong demand to participate because it was a real competition. We had a multitude of different thematic approaches, but we want to foster this diversity, and no wonder that you have really got a very different kind of proposals for us. And there are, of course, also many regional differences. Our next steps, I put on the slide. This would be that we have to concentrate on selected focus areas. There's always the danger if you call for proposals which are for a very, very wide range of proposals, then it might get out of hand, so we try to align activities. For example, we would like to foster municipal networking, intergenerational approaches. Some of the previous speakers also mentioned the intergenerational approaches. Then we will have conventions of the participants with similar focus areas once a year in conferences on federal level. And of course, we already have a website, which is called, in English, somewhat like Signpost Dementia, in German Wegweiser Demenz. And we would try to develop a toolkit, someone said, or we would call it e-learning modules in order to achieve sustainable networking. And of course, we also fund joint campaigning and shared public relations work, so that the sometimes very small initiatives can go ahead and make themselves known, you know. Now, I promised 2 examples, so here they are. I've selected only 2, which are very different, to prove that we have really a wide range of partners in this program. Number 1 would be the County of Herford in North Rhine-Westphalia. North Rhine-Westphalia is one of the 16 federal Länder in Germany. And this is a very good example for the core point of the program, I think. So I chose this one because it started with an existing information center from the Alzheimer Society in Enger, in the municipality of Enger, which is part of the County of Herford. And it tries to really spread out and network around just within the County of Herford. They cooperate with the social services, with the municipalities, with the Alzheimer Society, of course, which is always well-known and a good partner for our ministry. Also the churches and many others. They offer a lot of activities in order to have an inclusive society for people affected by dementia. For example, I only can name a few. It's concerts and sports. And they also hosted the 3rd International Conference on Intercommunal Networking, which is about the core of the program too, how to build a humane community. The second example would be the city of Emden, which is maybe you might call it the contrary. They started from scratch. So they invented a totally new approach. This is a cooperation of the Alzheimer Society in Emden and the Kunsthalle Emden, which is a museum of modern arts. And they devised a studio for people with dementia. And they try to realize participation via creative work there. This is just a very small initiative, but it is, you see, guided by an art therapist, and therefore it's quite costly, so they can use the 10,000 euro just like the community of Enger can use. I put down there the web link for the Lokale Allianzen. Unfortunately, it's only in German. I personally think we invest not enough to translate all our good work for social policies, but you might try it all the same. You would have a map, and it I think it's quite impressive, and we're a little proud that the program worked out so well, and we have a wide range of partners in the program all over Germany, which is also the outcome that we try to involve the 3 different levels of state in Germany. This is what I want to particularly stress, because in Germany you can't succeed if you don't involve all the 3 levels. That might be similar in your countries, but in Germany it's really essential from my point of view. So let me come back to the objectives of the program. I might sum up that we want to secure long-term improvements in the everyday life of persons with with dementia and their relatives, and the key word might be sustainability and cost efficiency. And what I also want to stress is that with some of our experts in Germany called the funding of 10,000 euro homeopathic funding, but all the same, this is, from my point of view, a good example how you can reach your objectives from federal level, from a top-down approach, and starting the fire from bottom up. You know, that's the key message, I think, from the program. It's 5 million overall spent, plus the evaluation and the conferences, but it's not so much money, I think, for a rather big country and with many municipalities to achieve the goal for a better life for people affected by dementia and their families. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, to make sure we'll have some time at the end of the program for multiple questions, I'd like to introduce Jeremy Hughes. He's the Chief Executive Officer of Alzheimer's Society.
それではイギリスのアルツハイマーソサイティからいらっしゃいましたジェレミー・ヒューズさんお願いいたします。シンディさんありがとうございます。そして日本政府の皆様、この会議を開催いたしまして開してくださいましてありがとうございました。こうして皆で一度に集うことができて。
Community, which is the role of big business and small businesses, corporations, in enabling people with dementia to live well in the community. But we also have a book that we published last year, which is called Building Dementia-Friendly Communities, a Priority for Everyone. So that is available from our website and is a guide to how to develop dementia-friendly communities in all their aspects. So the starting point of involving corporations is that we need to tackle dementia by a community-wide response with everybody involved. It cannot be left to the health and social care system. So when the Prime Minister, David Cameron, in 2012 took on dementia as the one health challenge that he was personally going to lead on, he asked me to lead a champion group for him, the Prime Minister's champion group on dementia-friendly communities. And on that group, we have one leader, one representative from each of the major business areas. We have one supermarket, one bank, one transport company, one telecommunications company, etc., one from each sector. And their responsibility is to take into their sector the leadership to develop their own plans. The starting point for all our work is the wishes of people with dementia. This was the National Dementia Declaration that was published in 2009, and it is a series of what we call I statements. These are statements from people with dementia saying how do they want to live, and it was from a very extensive piece of research to people with dementia. And I think it's important that we always start with a recognition that what we are there to do is to meet the aspirations of people with dementia. In this list, you will see that none of these are exceptional. They are, in fact, all the things we would all ask for everyday life. So all we're saying is people with dementia should be treated and allowed to live in the same way as anybody else. And so I want to start by just showing, I don't know how to make this work, the video, but I want to show a video clip which is somebody with dementia talking about how business can make their life different. Nope. I need to somehow. Thank you.
Sunrises tomorrow morning, 7 o'clock here on 107.9 FM.
know if we can go to the full screen, maybe.
It's not raining. Good. What? I've forgotten. Should I?
Just go sit down. Just go sit down.
Yeah. Right. Oh, that way. I don't what? Oh, I don't know. Could you please? It's my list. Here I go. So I don't know quite what. Oh dear. Chicken cheese.
What?
Chicken cheese?
Sorry.
Oh. Oh. I don't know.
People with dementia have experiences like this every day. A little bit of understanding, tolerance, and patience can make all the difference.
I'll tell you what, if you go into the seats just there,
Right.
when we get there, I'll call you, okay?
Okay, madam.
I can't get on.
Let me help you. This way.
Thank you.
Can I have a look at that list?
Yes.
Chicken and cheese.
Oh,
Let's go this way.
Thank you. Find out how to become dementia friendly. Contact Alzheimer's Society today.
So that's an example from the expression of somebody with dementia of how small differences by companies can make a difference. So first I want to talk about two examples of how companies make a difference. How does a group of companies work together? So this is the Dementia Friendly Financial Services Charter that was produced by the banks themselves to talk about how do they work together to change the way they operate. And I will show you another clip of a film which is made by Lloyds Bank, one of the banks, which is their own training film. It was not produced by us, it's produced by the bank. It's the senior director of the bank, followed by Angela Rippon, who co-chairs the Dementia Friendly Working Group with me and is a TV personality. So, I hope. It's not moving. Okay, if we can start.
People with dementia tell us their top issue is dealing with banks and financial services organisations. What we need to do is to make it much easier for our customers to be able to work with us. I recently saw a wonderful presentation by Trevor Jarvis. He's one of our customers. He's also a dementia sufferer. And what he did was really explain the challenges he has in dealing with banks and financial services organisations. The reason why we're doing this is because we should be. We've made a public commitment we're going to be the best bank for customers. That includes everybody, customers with disabilities as well.
We've brought on board so many large organisations, commercial organisations, charities, people who interface with the public every day, and through the Alzheimer's Society running training schemes so that those individuals in business, if you like, are able to understand about dementia and recognise people with dementia and their carers and their needs, and to help them as and when that help is needed. It's not 6 degrees of separation, it's only 3. All of us know someone who has dementia, which means that it's there, it's in society, and up until now we have been ignoring it on all sorts of levels.
I have every belief in our colleagues. We can take this message on board. We can do this.
And then the other example is local communities. And in the town of Crawley, for example, they have 100 members of businesses, church groups, community groups working together to become dementia friendly. One example is the bus company First Bus, and nationally they take 2.3 million passengers a day, and every one of their 13,500 drivers, 13,500 drivers, have all been trained in dementia awareness, so they can be more responsive. And they also have a safe journey card for people to use, so that anyone with dementia can show the card and the driver will recognise them and give them support. And finally, companies can support their individual employees to take part. So the Dementia Friends programme that you will have heard about, which we took from the Caravan Mate programme in Japan, is available online for companies to use. Marks and Spencer's have now taken that programme to 69,000 of their staff. So everybody who works for Marks and Spencer's has now has completed that programme. And individuals can also go and use a film which is used on television, an advertisement on television. And this just shows you the story where a person with dementia, Gina Shaw, is supported by celebrities using a song donated to us by Paul McCartney of the Beatles to bring awareness to the wider community so individual employees can play a part. And again, there should be a clip to play.
Oh, I get by with a little help from my friends. I'm gonna try with a little help from my friends. Oh, I get high with a little help from my friends. Yes, I get by with a little help from my friends. A little help from my friends.
To become a dementia friend and find little ways you can help people like me, please go to dementiafriends.org.uk now. Thank you.
So in conclusion, the message is that companies can play a part alongside everybody else, as national companies working in their sector, as local companies in their town, and by their employees becoming dementia friends and transforming the experiences of people living with dementia. Thank you very much.
Do we take questions? No. Okay. We'd like to proceed to the next speaker. Next speaker is Kunio Takami. Yes, please go ahead. President of Alzheimer's Association in Japan.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am from Alzheimer's Association Japan. I am Kunio Takami. Today I would like to talk about Tsudoi, crystallization of autonomy and creativity. Today, the theme of this session, breakout session, is how can we create a society where people with dementia can live in harmony with the rest of the society. And for that, I consider 4 things are very important. Number 1, the government and municipal administrations providing important policies. Number 2, skills for healthcare and care of people with dementia develop. And the third is understanding and awareness be promoted in the society or the community for people with dementia. Number 4 is people with dementia as well as their families have courage to live and live vibrantly. So these are the 4 things I consider very important for creation of such society. And due to the time limitation, I'd like to focus on the creation of society where people with dementia as well as their families can live vibrantly. So, tsudo is the term I would like to use throughout this presentation, but of course this is a Japanese term. Tsudoi can be replaced with meeting or exchange or whatnot. But I didn't really think any of these English terms can really fit the nuance of this term, tsudoi. So I'd like to continue to use this Japanese term, tsudoi, so that eventually this will be recognized as it is throughout the world. So tsudoi is a kind of meeting where people with dementia and their families get together to speak about their predicament and sufferings and sorrow, to encourage each other. They can know that it's not only them and they are not alone in this. And there are other people who are suffering from the same condition. So that is the meeting called Tsudoi. So this association was established 35 years ago, and we have a branch office in all 47 prefectures in Japan. And 11,000 people in Japan are paying the membership fee of 5,000 yen. And every year we are holding around 3,500 times Tsudoi meeting across Japan in any of the branches, meaning that every day in at least 9 branches Tsudoi meeting is taking place. And the number of participants is over 44,000, meaning that it's just a small group. 10 plus or so people get together for one Tsudoi meeting. This is the growth of the number of Tsudoi, and this is the breakdown of the Tsudoi participated by mostly elderly people, but then Tsudoi is available for younger onset Alzheimer's people, and also Tsudoi for male caregivers. So these are different types of Tsudoi meetings that are available. So this shows characteristics of this meeting called Tsudoi. So we started our activities back in 35 years ago. And back then we didn't have any social infrastructure or social understanding about people living with dementia. So even without any social services available, we wanted to have some place where we can encourage each other. So participants would come to such meeting on a voluntary and spontaneous basis. So Tsudoi can provide some encouragement for living. And Tsudoi can also provide some network and links and ties among people. And through our discussion in Tsudoi, we can make policy proposals to the central government as well as to the municipalities. And also we can exchange some of the ideas of how to best take care of these people living with dementia. So how are we operating Tsudoi? This shows that the organizer is Alzheimer's Association Japan's branch of each region or area, and the participants are people living with dementia and also their family members, as well as specialists in dementia and social workers, and also people from the general public. And we charge some small fraction of fee, like 200 yen or 300 yen, and it's like buying one pet bottle of tea or soft drink. So it's just a small entry fee. And in some of the Tsudoi meeting branches, we receive subsidy from local government to support the organization of the meeting. The venue is a public place or community center, which are usually free of charge or very cheap. So these are the locations where we hold Tsudoi. So 47 branches of our association issue newsletters, and Tsudoi meeting outcome is reported in the newsletter, so that those who could not come to the Tsudoi meeting would also know what was discussed in the meeting. So what are the specific and concrete benefits from participating in Tsudoi meeting? So for those caregivers, family members mostly, they can encourage each other. And they can speak about their own experiences that can nurture or benefit those people who are venturing onto providing care care to their family members. And then they can also exchange some information and knowledge about how best they can utilize their insurance, which medical institutions are good at caring people with dementia, and etc., etc. And for people living with dementia, the benefits are a feeling of comfort because they get to see each other. And Tsudoi is a place where they can be engaged with a variety of activities. So it's a fun place for hobbies and etc. And then it is a place where they can send out their voices to the society. So these are the benefits for the people with dementia. And those professionals who come to the Tsudoi meeting, the benefits are that because these are professionals, they are working in hospitals or care institutions, and they can actually hear first-hand experiences and feelings of the people living with dementia or caregivers. Because oftentimes through such meeting, real feelings are expressed. So let me introduce to you some of the feedback we have received from the participants of Tsudoi meeting. So one said that Tsudoi rescued me from a dark, closed, dead end. Another person said, I feel very easy to talk with people who share my hardship. So before coming to Tsudoi meeting, this person thought that his or her predicament would never be understood by others. And then this is a voice from the person with dementia. I feel very easy with people who understand my disease and myself. So I feel very comfortable being in this meeting. And then this is also a voice coming from the person living with dementia. I feel as if I do not have dementia. So I can forget about the fact that I am suffering from dementia being here. And also this voice is also from the people living with dementia as well as from their family members. I'm not alone and I have comrades and friends now. And this is a voice from the caregiver. So experienced family caregivers' words are more convincing than the words from medical professionals, because some of the caregivers are very much experienced with how to handle the people with dementia wandering around and missing. And those people with dementia who are bedridden right now, I feel very sorry for him. And when he was still wandering around outside, that was even a better time than it is now when he is completely bedridden. So then they can share experiences and they can feel better about their present condition. So that's another feedback we are receiving. So through Tsudoi, we can encourage not only people living with dementia, but also we can bring about some effect to the society and benefit the society. The society's social system may be not well advanced, still immature, but through exchanges and encourage among the people living with dementia and the families, we can kind of narrow down the gap which still exists in the society. And of course, Tsudoi is not an expensive thing. We don't need to have an expensive place. It's a very simple activity for people to get together. So I am convinced that this is a very good initiative. So I'm hoping that we will be able to hold much more and many of the Tsudoi meetings in the future. And for that, it's very important that people living with dementia as well as caregivers encourage each other and live autonomously. So, as I said, once again, these are the Tsudoi meetings taking place across Japan. With this, I would like to finish my presentation. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
To the next speaker, Professor Kim from South Korea. He is a director of National Institute of Dementia. So, Professor Kim, please.
Thank you for the introduction. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great pleasure for me to introduce Korea's experience to this very special audience. As Dr. Awata already showed you, Korea is one of the most rapidly aging countries in the world. Actually, Korea became an aging society in 2000, but it will become a super aged society by as early as 2026. The current number of dementia patients in Korea is estimated to be about 0.6 million, but it is expected to be doubled every 17 years due to this very rapid population aging. The national dementia cost at the moment is about 0.7% of our GDP, but it will also increase up to 2% in 2050. To face this dementia epidemic in Korea, Korean government announced a war against dementia in 2008. And in 2008, the Korean government prepared the National Dementia Plan, the first one, and started the long-term care insurance. In the same year, the National Dementia Early Detection Program was launched. After introducing this program, the dementia diagnostic rate, which was about 40% in 2008, became 75% in 2012. In 2012, Dementia Management Act was enacted in Korea, and the National Institute of Dementia was established based on this act. And the second National Dementia Plan was announced in this year. In 2013, the National Dementia Helpline began to provide the services, and the provincial dementia centers began to establish in the 11 provinces. However, due to the limited physical or financial accessibility to these services, there is still some obstacles for enhancing care quality through these services in Korea. For example, 8 out of 10 people actually needed the National Dementia Early Detection Service or long-term care insurance, but only 3 out of 10 people knew that there is such a service. This means that over half of the people who need the service actually cannot use the service because they don't know about it. Thus, in order to provide the Korean citizens with up-to-date and credible information about dementia and the information about dementia services on 24/7 basis, we have built 4 mutually interacting information channels, such as Dementia Information 365, which is a web-based information portal, and the National Dementia Helpline, which is a telephone-based information and counseling portal, and 2 mobile portals named The Companion, which is a mobile application assisting with the providing care and education for the family caregivers, and the Check Dementia, which is also a mobile application assisting the self-screen and the prevention information for the dementia. As a result, any Korean citizens can have access to the information about the dementia and the information about the services for dementia, regardless of what their preferable communication method is. Also, a larger number of dementia-related services still do not provide the information on the contents, costs, or procedures of such a service in a coherent manner. Furthermore, as the eligibilities for using various services are still all different, with some of them being mutually exclusive, it is not easy for a layman to understand fully, even if he or she reads the information on each service. Therefore, we developed an algorithm called the Dementia Service Navigator by abstracting, integrating, and organizing the various and complex service information on dementia. We are going to put this Dementia Navigator into the 4 information channels simultaneously so that Korean people can easily and efficiently track the appropriate services that they want. Ultimately, by providing this up-to-date and well-organized information through these 2 standard mobile portals, We hope to actively provide tailored information to the users with constant update. We expect that this information delivery strategy will contribute to improving the cost effectiveness of dementia services, as well as to enhancing overall dementia care quality. This busy slide shows you the distribution of the community-based dementia care resources across Korea in 2012. Actually, I'm not asking you to read Koreans, but if I tell you that the percentage in the circle on the top shows the proportion of dementia patients who actually used these resources, you will be able to guess that the total amount of resources may be far from sufficient. And the difference in the heights of the bar below shows the high disparities of such services between regions. Such a lack and disparity of resources have considerably limited physical accessibility of Korean people to these community-based services. In addition, people who cannot afford these services by themselves, but they are not yet still eligible for long-term care insurance, suffer from lack of financial accessibility in addition. As we cannot overcome all these problems in a short period of time, we think one alternative would be developing novel community-based service that are more easily accessible, both from physical and financial perspectives. For example, we developed and began to provide a free newspaper-based daily cognitive training program in collaboration with the largest newspaper company in Korea. And this program has caught a really huge attention from our community. This is another example. This is the National Daily Exercise Program for Dementia Prevention. We developed and provide this exercise program from this October so that anyone can keep exercising regardless of their location, economic status, cognitive or physical capacities. We are going to distribute this exercise in every senior or dementia patient-related community facilities. So this will help not only the incidence of the dementia, but also the physical, but also to increasing the physical activities of dementia patients in the facilities. We hope our effort to enhance accessibility to Korean people to information and the services for dementia may ease the burden of Korean people due to dementia in Korea. And at the same time, we hope our experience can make some meaningful contribution to the global efforts led by G7 to help dementia people and their family caregivers, and many potential future dementia patients in the community. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Professor Kim. We are a little behind the schedule, so we would like to welcome next speaker, Utsumi Sensei. Please.
Dr. Utsumi, please. Thank you very much for giving me this honor to speak before you. I would like to thank all the pertinent people. I'm from Sunagawa City, and I am operating the Medical Center for Dementia, Sunagawa City Medical Center. This is a system to support the people with dementia in this community. Now, this city is in the Nakasorachi community. At the Sunagawa City Medical Center, we established the memory clinic And also, we established the Nakasorachi community support at the same time. The objective, of course, is to support the people with dementia in this community through many different activities. And members participating are the doctors, social workers, care managers, and social workers, health nurses. And also, we do have family members of the people with the dementia. And the purpose of this community support is, of course, to provide support to carers, families. And also, we provide the seminars and also the presentations to raise the awareness among the citizens living in this community. For these two bullets, we would like to solve the problem of the stigma of the people with the dementia, and also we would like to motivate volunteers to work as volunteers. I would like to emphasize the importance of volunteer, and that is the main topic of today's talk. And also we provide support for the care staffs through seminars and working the study groups. And sometimes we visit the care facilities to provide the training on site. And we do provide the primary care doctors trainings as a part of a support for primary care doctors. About volunteer training course, we started a volunteer training course in year 2009. And in year 2010, we launched the dementia support volunteer organization called POCKE. These are the picture of the members. We have about 30 members. I would like to talk about the POCKE's activity. This is the cumulative activity hour. The initial year was low, but last year activity hour exceeded 2,000 hours. For this year, I think activity hour exceed 3,000 hours. So the POCKE volunteers are very active, and mainly this the volunteer accompany the people with dementia when they have to go to hospitals or clinics. So the people with dementia can go to hospitals, which is difficult to do them by themselves. So POCKE volunteers provide necessary support. So this is one of the stories or episode of the activity of the POCKE. For example, there's a son who has to be in charge of the funeral. And there is a request for us to provide the care and of the looking over the mother at the funeral home for overnight. And also there's a woman who was now living alone after her son's death, and she was very scared because she believes that she saw her son's ghost every night. Now she was in a way to move to her nursing home, but she asked us to accompany her for about a week so that she doesn't have to be scared, and we helped her. And also elderly caregiver needed to go to the hospital, but his wife is a person with a dementia, so he needed help with her, and we provided the immediate care for that. And also at the Sunagawa City, that is a municipal services, there is the ordinance being issued in year 2013 that is active living of elderly to provide the care, particularly the looking over the elderly people. So this is the ordinance to be able to provide the personal information to the carers so that elderly people's private information can be provided to provide the care. So now we have the comprehensive the community support center. So nurses or care the providers can visit the house with the household with the 65 years old people living alone. So with this information, the community, the meeting, community groups, and also the caregivers and other pertinent people can have meetings to provide how to provide necessary care. So next, the topic is this topic which was introduced in the TV program in Hokkaido. Hokkaido is furthest north. So Sunagawa, the city, issued a new ordinance that is to support active living of elderlies. Because of the Private Information Protection Act, the elderly's information was sealed in a way, but this ordinance allowed the municipal, the civil servant to be able to access to this private information so that appropriate care can be provided to the householders with the 65 years aged, 65 years or older. How do you feel about your health? I'm sick. Last Friday at Sunagawa City, the elderly people's information was for the first time communicated to the community group. And Sunagawa City they promote this household visit once in 6 months, 3 months, 6 months, and many frequency. There are 6,000 people older than 65 years old, and we are able to provide about 6,000 people's information to the community. For the first year, we visited the single household with the over 65 years old, and were able to visit about 760 people. And because of this visit, we identified 4 or 5 people suspected to have dementia. But these people was not able to have any access to any home care or any medical services. So with this, the support, the activities, when we identify the people might have dementia, the next step is important, how to provide necessary services to these people. So Sunagawa City has initial phase intensive support team, and the nurses and doctors and also nursing care workers work together and collaborate together. So we get the information from the community, and then the dementia specialist nurses and also nursing care workers visit the household and get the information and have a multidisciplinary meeting. And if we strongly feel that this person must have dementia, then we take a necessary approach to be able to provide a necessary care or some medical, be able to have access to the medical care. So volunteer poke, and also we have the active support for the active lives, that is the outreach activity. And with the initial phase intensive support team, we have a very good system that all wheels are working together. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'd like to welcome the last speaker, who is Ms. Rumiko Otani. Otani 先生、よろしくお願いします。
Please take the floor.
For giving me this lovely opportunity. Before starting, please prepare your great imagination for deeply understanding about our machizukuri activities. イマジネーションできました。
So, did you exercise and open up your imagination? I'd like to now switch to Japanese. The city of Omuta was a town prospered with coal mining. Right now, the population is 120,000, and the elderly persons ratio is 32.9%, which is very high. So, in terms of the challenge of elderly person or aging society, we are 10 years ahead of the rest of Japan. In this city of Omuta, first of all, we established the Dementia Care research. And with this research group, we started a Dementia Care Support Initiative. So what we did first was to do survey into all of the households, and we got the voices and ideas from 1,500 residents in the city, which later were reflected on many different initiatives that we started to implement. So one thing is to provide training to dementia coordinators. This is based on community. These coordinators are to promote community building by supporting people with dementia. So 460 hours of training for 2 hours, that's provided. And in the past years, 95% have completed this training. This is not today's theme, so I'm not going to provide you with details, but then the examples that I would like to introduce to you today have been successful thanks to the coordinators. So first of all, this was started, Hayami Minami Ninjo Network. This was modeled on one elementary school. This is to bring together younger generation with the people in the elderly population, people with dementia. This is the network initiated by the residents of Omuta city. And this is the network initiated by the city of Omuta, and this activity was expanded to all of the 21 school zones of Omuta city. So our slogan is no wandering. Our slogan is to create a society where wandering is okay. Because wandering is one aspect of this condition, but this is also the another aspect is there, which is that these people with dementia are living in this society comfortably. Therefore, the community as a whole needs to develop understanding and then provide watching over for those people living with dementia. And when there is a person missing, we need to have a good safety network. That is another objective of this initiative. The 11th Wandering Simulation Training was conducted in 2014, and this was participated by 3,000 citizens of the city. And 107 people acted as if they were elderly persons and they were wandering. And 1,200 residents were involved to support those people who are wandering. So this is a flow of the simulation training. So there is a transmission of information from the police to the resident, and then further to the more residents. And Aijo.net, this is an email network to send out information to 4,400 residents of the city at the same time with the photo of the person who is missing and wandering. So this is the flow chart of the network. As you can see, many different organizations and groups are supporting this network in the city. And Omuta Communities Life Support Network and Community Support Network. These are the networks that receive the information from the Omuta City Longevity Society Promotion Division. So this is to look at the data from the police station of Omuta City. The number of missing persons reports are around 150, in between 100 to 150 in the past years. And the number of use of the SOS network was 29. But I would like to draw your attention to this. This is a number of people with dementia who have been rescued or protected through the network. So before the network was established, this number was pretty low. But after the establishment, more people are rescued through the network. For instance, bus driver reporting to the police late at night, and the missing person was found in the neighboring municipality, or sometimes elementary school or junior high school rescue those people who are wandering and missing. So this network is pretty effective. And 12 municipalities around Omuta city are participating in this network to have inter-municipal agreement to be connected. So we have received a lot of visitors across Japan. 880 municipalities came to take a look at this network, 104 municipalities. And 114 municipalities across Japan have expanded the network across the country as a result of that. And another initiative I'd like to introduce to you, which was initiated back in 2004, is Picture Book Classroom. This year is the 11th year. Around 8,000 elementary school and junior high students learned about dementia through picture book. The title of this picture book is The mind of the person is always living. Let's find something valuable. This provides empathy among elementary and junior high school children, so that they understand people living with dementia. I'm sure that those kids have found something really important and valuable through this picture book classroom. Over 7,000 students have participated in this, and this is a survey into those students. So, outside of the classroom, can you help people living with dementia? And a lot of students said, yes, I know what to do and how to help people living with dementia. This pie chart shows the data from Yoneo Junior High School. So we did some follow-up survey of all the students in this school. 76% of the students said that after the picture book classroom, they have been engaged in one way or another community activities. And the Berlin Convention of Alzheimer's Society, we actually took some of the junior high school students from this school to this Berlin convention, so that they could also speak in front of this convention, talk about the importance of the community support. And this year in Germany, once again, there was a Japan-German meeting for dementia. And these two kids, particularly who are in the 4th grade of the university right now, came to this meeting to present about the community activities. So these kids' participation actually bring about active community support for people with dementia. So this is a very important energy coming from young generations. This is my conclusion. So we have this kind of a Baumkuchen, a kind of system for watching over the people with dementia. Community and the kids, they all watch over the people living with dementia. And those people living with dementia, they repeat wandering, and that's okay because they are being watched over. So that's the network that we are now trying to expand further. So we are creating the city where wandering is okay and it can be done safely and securely. So person-centered care is very important, and we would like to make further steps towards that direction.
Thank you very much for introducing us your wonderful program. And so we'd like to start the discussion. So does anybody want to give some comment or questions to? Yeah, please. One moment, please.
Thank you. It's Tom Wright from Age International. We've had some great examples of very effective models this afternoon, which I'm sure many of us would endorse. But I just wondered, we've had very little about the effectiveness of some of these models and some of these approaches, because you'd imagine that we would see improvements in the well-being of older people with dementia. We'd probably see reduced hospital admissions and reduced costs. would see an improvement in the satisfaction of healthcare professionals and carers. I just wondered if people could comment from their models on what sorts of results they're finding as encouragement for us to use these types of approaches in other countries and other health economies.
Who do you think can, reply? Yep, please.
So just to start with the experience from the UK, one of the things we're building into the programme for the individual towns and cities is that when the municipality is surveying its population, which they do with questionnaires every year, they include questions about whether there is a person in the household with dementia and whether their life has got better or worse as a result of it becoming a dementia-friendly town or city. So we're looking for the municipalities to include this in their survey work. The other example is that anecdotally, and we haven't got the full evidence, but we do know that there are people living longer in the community and having reduced length of hospital stays, for example, because it is possible for them to leave hospital and to go back into a supportive community.
And maybe just something that I wanted to add is that one of the difficulties that we have is, and it's really what Francesca Colombo mentioned earlier, is what metrics do we use to compare the change to? Because in a lot of countries, the statistics that we would need to show improvements, well, the baseline doesn't exist. We don't know a lot of issues around what's the satisfaction of people with dementia with the businesses that they go to. We don't have a lot of information about how satisfied they are with their local cities and so on. So since we don't have the kind of baseline, it's very difficult now and again to show the kind of effectiveness of some of these programs. But I don't think we should necessarily use that as a reason not to implement some of these programs, because Jeremy is right in saying that there's a lot of anecdotal evidence to show how impactful these programs are for the kind of quality of life of people with dementia and carers. And then introduce the kind of programs so that we can monitor the kind of systems once we've introduced them.
Yes, please.
Yes. About the effectiveness of the model, the approach, it is very difficult to assess the effectiveness in the community, but today I focused on the wandering around people in the region in Omuta. Because of the wandering around in the community at the earlier stage, they will have to be hospitalized. That's the major reason. That is why in Omuta city, because of the usage of the network, they are still wandering around, but still they can live in the community. And I think that that's one important evidence. And also in Omuta city, there are many community citizens, and once a year we get together a kind of a meeting called Tsuzoi to assess the effectiveness, whether we are really establishing the dementia-friendly society, community or not. If we have the analogy of Mount Fuji, probably we are 40%, 50% in the middle of the way up the mountain. It's very difficult to assess the effectiveness, but the citizens are taking the problems as if they are own, and all the people, cross generations of the people, are joining forces to create the dementia-friendly community. So if you are interested, please come and to the Omuta, and not just the numerical evidence, but please feel the effectiveness of the program in the city. Yes, Dr. Takumi? Caregivers will have to be happy, and that is why we have the Tsudoi, the meeting, the family and the people's meeting. One thing is that the caregiver, the families ought to be very smiling because 50 suicide a year, committing suicide because they are tired of giving care. But in my community, not a single suicide of that cause. And also there are family groups, and these families, the caregivers, join the meeting, and they, in fact, become the leaders in these meetings. So So they have the first-hand experience, and that is why I believe that the caregivers are also growing as a person. And also, every year, this patient family meetings, the members are increasing, and also nationwide, there are chapters of the similar groupings. So I believe that that's what we feel. So we want to have the numerical evidence to prove that this sort of the Tsudoi meeting is very effective. Thank you. It's easier said than done. The quantitative effectiveness measuring is very difficult. So community, what's the definition of community is one thing. But as numerical evidence, do you have any examples of the numerical evidence to assess the effectiveness of these models? Dr. Kim.
Actually, the National Early Detection Program, which has been conducting 6 years in Korea, we have a cost effectiveness analysis using the data from 2010 to 2012, and we published the result in the Journal of Alzheimer's Disease this year. We found that the program in its current form was found to be effective in the elders ages 75 years or older. And if we want to make that program to be cost effective over 60 years or older, we have to increase the proportion of mild cases who were first detected by the program over 70%. Currently, the dementia patients who were first diagnosed by our National Dementia Early Detection Program was almost 40%. And the late stage of diagnosis reduces the cost effectiveness of early diagnosis program. So we are going to introduce the strategy to make it earlier to get diagnosis. So in Korea, National Health Insurance provide periodic free health checkup to the every elders, and we are going to put self-questionnaire on subjective cognitive impairments, and if someone found on optionally, and if someone who think that they are found to have some subjective cognitive impairment, they are referred to the National Early Detection Program. By this way, we are going to increase the proportion of the early stage dementia patients who were first detected by the National Dementia Early Detection Program.
Yes. The program in the UK is in its early stages. So the Prime Minister asked us to develop the Dementia Friendly Communities program in 2012. He said by 2015 we should have 25 cities involved. Today we have over 70. And what we've just put in place is some work with the British Standards Institute, which is the UK part of the International Standards Organisation, ISO. And they've just produced their draft report where they will set up some standards as to how you measure the effectiveness of a dementia-friendly community. And I think if their work is successful in the UK, and I think it will be, they are very thorough in the way they develop it, then perhaps we will have a standard that could be adopted by ISO, the umbrella global body, and used for dementia-friendly communities anywhere in the world.
Which year did you say you will get the actual effectiveness?
Yeah, the BSI proposal on how you measure, they've just produced their draft proposal, which has a 3-month consultation period. They then review it, so it will be next year that they plan to publish the standards for the UK, which could then be developed internationally.
Yeah, we are anticipating that, yeah.
Annette Polly?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. I want to add that in the framework of our program, the local alliances in Germany, we're sure to have some evidence by 2016. I told you we provide for evaluation, and I don't know what kind. I'm not sure now because there are still another round of participants, and we want to evaluate all 500 of them, of course, and maybe then we'll be better off then. Thank you.
Yes, go ahead.
So thank you very much for a very nice presentation. My name is Takenobu Inoue from the National Rehab Center. So I'm also interested in the evaluation of the activity of the community. So the last session, Dr. Bergen mentioned the participatory evaluation. I think it's one of the useful the methodology. So if you have some comment about the participatory evaluation in order to evaluate this kind of activity, and from the UK or the Germany, some other country, could you give us the comment?
Well, I think it's that what I just mentioned. It's evaluation which is currently in course. You know, they accompany the program, and I think that's what's meant here.
I think the interesting thing is that we have a very small research community globally who are doing this research, and perhaps one of the messages is we need to be encouraging and funding more evaluation research into effective prevention and care interventions and support interventions in the community. But there's a program, for example, in the UK that Dawn Brooker from Worcester University, who is here, has done the evaluation of, which is an intervention where you train and support people to reduce the use of antipsychotic drugs. So that's been very effective, and that's an example of a very robust academic evaluation of the effectiveness of a program.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Masahiro Shigeta, Tokyo Metropolitan University. 日本語で効果の評価に関して
Allow me to speak Japanese to evaluate the effect at our university. Actually, our university reside in Arakawa ward of Tokyo, where we have a lot of elderly people, and we have exercise class, which is the class that is open to the community, and actually home care insurance usage, the cost is reducing, and we have the exercise classes a week. For this exercise week on health seminar classes, it's difficult to have a quantified evaluation system, but actually in Japan we can have the care insurance cost reduction. Maybe that could be used, and also maybe medical, the outpatient clinic visit reduction, or hospitalization, the days reduction, that could be used. But I think in community, probably the best measurement is to measure the amount of the care insurance payment. But it's difficult to write a paper about that. Yes, as Dr. Shigeta talked about the care insurance, long-term care insurance system in Japan, Arakawa World actually reduced the payment of that because of exercise class. Please speak slowly. Thank you for the sake of the interpreter. At Omuta City, the several years after the program started, actually the care insurance payment increased because of the increased support and increased care for the people who didn't receive cares, for the early detection, and also the elderly, people with dementia who is still suffering from the domestic violence or abuse. I think the first priority is to provide the care, identify them, and to build a community. And then maybe the cost is the next priority. So the most important thing is to create a network of the people to build the community first. Yes, as to for the Dr. Otani, the counting the number of the people, yes, actually the number of the people who are participating in this exercise classes are increasing. That's okay, but maybe we can just divide the actual cost by head count. I think that can give us quite a good idea about the cost. I am from the Kyoto University about the health, the economy. My name is Yamanaka. It is ideal if we can have a quantified measures, but based on the current medical data, that these the people use medical system, and also there are the people with the dementia access to the home care and also the medical system. There are differences between different communities. The community provide good services tend to see the increase in medical cost and also the care cost. So I feel that when we think about short-term cost reduction, if we see that, that's fine, but we shouldn't have that as the goal. I think the mid to long-term goal is to really build the community and set up the good environment. Of course, it is very difficult to collect evidence. So we should rack a brain and think about the good community building for the sake of a mid to long-term goal. Of course, that it is very important to the researchers in terms of health economy, but that should not be only one goal. Dr. Yamanaka, what would be the span? How many years do you think is necessary for us to have a mid to long term, 5 to 10 years? Quite a long term view, yes.
There was a comment about measurement of social participation. And in the former session, I showed the different pattern of the elderly people who went back home, improved social participation even after that, although the other functioning has declined. But this measure will be published very soon in next issue of Japanese Geriatric Association Journal, which is Dr. Kozaki is the chief editor, and this will be coming soon.
But in Japanese.
But in Japanese, with English abstracts.
Okay. Yes.
I just add to the previous speaker, to the last one. I think it's important that we do recognize that we measure the quality of life as well as the cost. But the interesting thing with dementia is that often what we end up doing at the moment is spending more money than we should for a lower quality of life. So one of the important changes is if you have a dementia-friendly or supportive community, family caregivers are able to continue supporting their partner or their parent for longer. And we know from the UK that many people end up going into a nursing home at very high cost earlier than they need to, not because their dementia has got worse, but because the family caregiver, who maybe is also an elderly, frail person, has collapsed and is isolated and gives up. So there is an important measure there where we look at enabling people to carry on living at home, which both improves quality of life and saves money.
Yeah, I just want to comment. I know in the U.S. there's many good programs. As we've seen, there's many great programs to support, especially the caregivers around the world. We, one of the presentations talked about the low participation rate. And I don't know if some of you can comment on how to help improve people to actually actively take part in some of these great programs, because the Alzheimer's Association is always out there talking about support groups, talking about our educational programs, multilingual language opportunities, and yet still it's a challenge to get people to come. And I'd just like to hear some panelists on that, because I see over and over there's wonderful, wonderful programs out there, and we sometimes struggle to get people to participate.
I can give one example which goes back to what I was saying about the role of businesses. So in the UK, we got the biggest supermarket company, Tesco, to fund a program of providing mobile information units that we provided from Alzheimer's Society and took to the car parks of their supermarkets. So instead of asking elderly people who often are reluctant to ask for help and feel that they don't have a right to help, we took the information to the place where they were already there, which is the supermarket, and made it easy for them to have conversations and to get that support. And over 150,000 people have come to those information units in the car parks who otherwise would not have got access to the programs. So that's one example, is make the programs accessible in the space people go to rather than expecting them to come to you.
Yes, please.
Chancellor Leslie, Public Health England. A comment, if I may, Cindy, regarding the issue of people being involved, getting involved, and getting people interested in all these really wonderful initiatives. And it's something which has bedeviled us over the years. This isn't about dementia only. This is about all non-communicable diseases. And I think it really lies in the fact that the treatment plans for a lot of people tend to be viewed by the people themselves as the treatment plan of the professionals rather than the treatment plans of the people. And it goes back to people having a sense of control regarding their own lives, or the lack of it. So I think this is about giving people control of their lives, and the moment one does that, one is then able perhaps to really start to be able to develop a far better system for people to participate in their own health.
Otani-sensei, yes.
Dr. Otani, please. Yes, to invite more carers to participate, I didn't really cover in my presentation this, but we have a conversation meeting where family carers can get together. But what they say oftentimes is that those carers are caring those people with dementia, and they can't leave those with dementia alone at home. That's why they can't come. So we usually try to provide respite care to those carers by providing support by dementia coordinators to these people. Well, in Japan, the families groups are meeting. We have a history of 30 years, and we have done a lot of survey every 10 years or so. And then the long-term care insurance was introduced in 2000, and comparing before and after, the physical burden of care, like not having enough time for myself and not being supported, this kind of physical burden has been reduced after the introduction of the long-term care insurance. But what's not changed is that they can't take a rest, kind of psychological and mental rest. So even after the introduction of this system, this means that the family carers, they have difficult to looking at their family members kind of transforming. And then because of the necessity to take care of these people, they cannot live their own lives. So these are the two things. To support the carers, what's very important is to, of course, have good policies and measures for the people with dementia, but at the same time to provide enough space for those carers who could take a rest physically as well as mentally. Dr. Kawata? I think this question goes to either Dr. Pauly or Dr. George. I think the situation here in Japan is pretty similar to the situation in Germany. Hearing presentation from Germany this morning, I felt so. The long-term care system introduced here in Japan was actually learned after the system in Germany. To support people with dementia, actually we needed to modify this system quite greatly. For instance, the long-term care system does not provide support for carers. What about support for people living in solitude, accommodation, or some kind of a family type of support for these people living on their own? That's not provided for under the current long-term care insurance or system. So that has to be community-based and voluntary-based. And that is the situation right now. And this is what is called a community support project. And this is can be freely pursued by each municipality. So we have some kind of a team that is part of the community to provide support for people living in dementia. And the budget is given from the central government to each municipality for that. And I think in Germany, long-term care insurance has been around a little longer than here in Japan. But what kind of system is under development to support these people who are living on their own with dementia?
Not really, as you
Not
might
really.
know, but we try a new approach, giving the little money to the municipalities so that everyone can devise its own plan. That's the absolute aim of this program, and I don't know yet, I must say. I only can say we have to wait another 2 years and let's see what consequences the federal government may be able to have out of this, because at the moment I'm not able to answer it. I'm sorry.
Or more specifically, is there a person who's demented, who's also living alone? Is that a big issue in Germany?
Well, yes, but probably nobody knows about the people who live alone, really. You know, it might be a problem, like we heard by some other previous speakers. I really don't know. The municipalities must know best, so we try to enable them. That's about it.
Okay, thank you. Yes, please.
I would like to add a few points to that. Of course, people living alone with dementia are entitled to the full benefits of the long-term care insurance system, but we try to open up the insurance benefit system in a way that they have a better access to low threshold and local support, or not only to professional support, which is more expensive. In many cases, this will not be enough of support, and so we have also to rely on the local communities. And in Germany also there are a number of initiatives going on, also by Alzheimer Society, for example, which have brought out a book of training for people working in banks or in supermarkets and the local services to be open and to support people living alone with dementia. There's not a special program or special benefit for those people within the insurance system, but more diversity and flexibility of how to use the different benefit sources.
Can I ask a question, following on the question, can I ask a question of Dr. Utsumi? Because it seems to me that POKI program is exactly to support isolated people with dementia who may be living alone, where the volunteers will go and support them. So maybe that is one good part of your program?
ですね、
it's kind of outreach program to support people living on their own, but then it's actually the staff members working for the local governments and also nurses who are from the comprehensive program for the support. So it's a kind of public program supporting these people. But of course, neighbors, groups, and also social workers, those community level support are also provided to watch over these people living with dementia and on their own.
my co-chair. I just want to thank the panel for a wonderful discussion today. I think we did learn that there's just a lot of little things that can be done and large things that could be done, and the key is to get started and really start helping become dementia-friendly communities, and hopefully as we move forward, we will get some of that evidence that people are asking for, but I also agree that anecdotally, I'm somebody who has the pleasure of working with some of these programs on a day-to-day basis, and definitely anecdotally, we're making a difference in people's lives, and it really is rewarding to do so. So again, thank very much the panel. It's very informative, and I hope you have a good rest of the conference. Thank you so much.
座長のお二人、そしてスピーカーの皆様、ありがとうございます。
The two chairpersons and the speakers, thank you. This concludes today's breakout sessions. Thank you very much for being with us for the whole day. There is housekeeping announcement. From 6 p.m., there is a government-sponsored reception. And those who are invited, please come to the 51st floor, Roppongi Hills Club. It's the same venue where you had lunch. Tomorrow, the main plenary session starts at 9 o'clock. It's another venue that is at the Tower Hall. And also the booth poster exhibition as well as the ICT robot related exhibition will be there. So please take a first-hand look. Those of you who registered, you do not have to register again tomorrow. So please directly come to the venue. So the admission card, please bring it home. And tomorrow, please bring it with you. Those of you who are not participating tomorrow, please return the admission card. The simultaneous interpreter receiver should not be taken out of the venue. Please leave the receiver on the table, or please return it at the registration desk. We're very much looking forward to seeing you again tomorrow. Thank you.
Right. Yeah, that's why we. I mean, it's kind of pouring down the money like over an umbrella, you know.
Yeah.
And we try.